Hey, what's going on, guys? This is part 7 of my Dwarf Fortress tutorial video series. I'm back from Japan now, and I'm going to pick up where we left off in terms of game mechanics. Now, as you can see, my map is a little different, and that's because I beat my old game when I wasn't filming. I'm sorry about that, but I created a new fort in a new area. It's pretty much the same setup. I'm a little bit behind where we were before, but an important event happened, and that is Immigrants, which I left off last time on. When you do get immigrants, your game will pause. It'll zoom into the part of the screen where your immigrants are, which is down here, and you'll see, denoted by the yellow X, that this dwarf is blinking, and he's entering the map. Now, immigrants are important for a multitude of reasons, as you can imagine. The first being that Dwarf Fortress is a game about reaching ultimate power and wealth, and you can't do that with only 7 dwarves, which is what you started with. So immigrants provide you opportunities to get more numbers of dwarves and to specialize in what you're doing. Early on in the game, you'll see that, more obviously, a dwarf's value is exponential because we only have 7. But later on, once we have all our roles established and stuff like that, you'll start using waves of immigrants for military fodder, and you'll just recruit them all to the military, so you get a strong army. But for now, these guys are actually going to serve some purposes. The first thing you want to do when an immigrant comes, of course, is to hover over it using using V. And go to the G, press G, and you go to General, and it's the General tab. And this will show you all the proficiencies the dwarf came with. As you can see, this dwarf is good at a lot of crafting stuff, like wood crafting, stone crafting. So what you want to do from here is to see each dwarf and assess his abilities and give him the tasks that you need done. So in this new fort, I don't have any crafters like I did in the last one. I have the pretty standard setup with miners, carpenters, farmers, and stuff like that. So I do need a crafter, and this is a perfect opportunity for one. So you press P for proficiencies, and then L for labor, and you can see that because he's already proficient in these crafts, his labor is already enabled for them. Typically, or sometimes, if a dwarf enters the map with certain skills, they don't have them enabled on this screen. For example, this dwarf is a proficient potash maker, and I bet you anything that it's not enabled under cooking, or under whatever job it is. I think it's farming. Yeah, potash making. See? So even though he's good at potash making, it's not enabled on here. So most of the time you're going to have to enable that stuff yourself. And like I mentioned before, the great thing about immigrants is that you can kind of specialize them as you want, so they can serve the needs your fort needs. And even though this guy's a proficient potash maker, potash is really only useful for making soap, if I recall correctly. And we don't need people to make soap right now. We need people to make stuff that we can survive on. We don't need fucking soap. So I'm going to leave that disabled, even though he's good at it. I'm just going to leave him be. Now, I'm a little bit concerned because in this fort I settled in a sinister, a savage swamp, and there's eagles and shit right over here, or buzzards, almost as bad. So hopefully when these dwarves enter the map, they don't get killed by the buzzards. They do have to make a trip up this way to get to my fort entrance, so we'll see how that goes. So if you unpause the game, you'll see that the pretty much the immigrants just come onto the map, and I see we have a miner. Well, this is pretty good. And you'll be able to notice what proficiencies the dwarves are given by their little sprites, their little animations. So press V again, and this guy Rovod, he's a miner, and he's a okay, this is pretty good. We can cover medical now. Great. So this guy's an accomplished miner, which is awesome. This is one of the best immigrants you can get. It's always good to have miners because you always need to do mining. So we're gonna go to P or G for. We're already on G to see what he's good at. Press P for proficiencies again, and then L for labor, and see that mining is already enabled. That's good. We can leave it like that. The other thing I want to mention is he came here as an adept diagnostician. Please don't troll me for fucking pronouncing it incorrectly. I'm really sorry. So obviously, having a doctor is really important. In fact, it's one of the most important jobs. Chief Medical Dwarf, and the main proficiency used for this is Diagnostician. So, if you're just on the screen, go to his labor pages, and you're going to want to enable Healthcare, or go down to Healthcare, press Enter, and you'll see that the grayed out ones are things he's not doing, and the highlighted ones are stuff that he will do. So every dwarf will come enabled with 2 healthcare things. They'll always recover wounded, and they'll always feed patients and prisoners. Now, since this guy is good at assessing people's medical situations, we can make him a diagnosis dwarf. Just press enter on that, it'll turn white, and that means it's enabled. He will do any jobs that a diagnostician needs to do on in a fort. Next, from here, you'll see the hot key screen. Press N, and that'll be for nobles and administrators. And as you can see, Rashid Wallace is my leader, and that's just like a randomly assigned position when you get here. It's not really a big deal. We'll get into it later. The important thing here is you want to have a chief medical dwarf. So if you do get a dwarf who's good at diagnosing things, you should make it this guy. If you don't get one on the first immigrant wave, which in all likelihood you won't, don't worry about it. You don't really need a doctor for a while anyways. It's just lucky that I got one early. So press, once you want to assign someone a chief medical dwarf, press R for replace, because there's no one here, and just pick the person. Usually the game is smart enough to separate them into, like, they put the dwarves who are most likely to be good at it at the top, and as you can see, good old Rovod is up here, and it shows on the right-hand side that he's adept. So I will do that, and all of a sudden, he's a fucking doctor. He didn't even go to school. Or, like, he might have, but not in this life. And as you can see, he changed from a little miner-looking guy to a, like, smart doctor-looking guy. But he'll still mine, so you don't have to worry about it. And this last guy, Thob, he's a clothier, so I'm going to go to G. And he only came with 2 skills, a clothier and a pacifier. Pacifier is a pretty useless trait, which makes him a little better at talking to people, because he can, like, pacify them and make them easier to talk to. But that's bullshit, and we all know it, so we're going to make him do something else. Which is the great thing about immigrants, because they'll listen to what you say. So go to the labor tab, and honestly, earlier on in the fort, I have, I'd make him a miner, but I don't have any mining picks lying around, so I'm not going to do that. The thing I need most at this point is probably more people to craft stuff, so I'm going to move on down to crafts. And clothes making is already a craft, but I don't want him to make clothes, I want him to make stuff out of rock. So I'm going to enable stone crafting, and I'll enable bone crafting as well, just for the hell of it. And I'll unpause the game, and only 3 immigrants come on the map. Immigrant waves can range from 1 dwarf to 20, I believe. And they also come with pet animals, which I believe this one did, yep. A chick, which is a small domestic bird capable of flying short distances, if you didn't know. So these dwarves will just run back over here, and they'll go into my fort. At this stage of my fort, I don't have, well, I have like a brewery and stuff, but I haven't started crafting like I did in the previous video. So for now, I'm just going to let the game run, and I'll get back to you guys when everything is caught up. Okay guys, that didn't really take too long at all, but I've just pretty much caught up this fort to where the last one was. I'll give you a rundown just for consistency's sake, so you know like what I'm doing. So here's the main entrance right here. Here's the trade depot. I believe I covered how to make that. See the down staircase, go down. Here's the main floor. I've got the farms there, the food and drink storage, the dining room. Here's where the butchery is, the brewery. Go down another level. Here's where all the crafting is. Go down to like a lot of levels, and here are the beds. Now, since we got immigrants, we need to build them additional bedrooms. I pre-dug out these, but I did not assign them yet. So in the same way that I told you guys how to assign beds to dwarves you started with, it's the same mechanism here. You go to an empty bedroom like this, press R to make it a room, and assign it to a dwarf who's highlighted in green, which means they don't have a bed. So any dwarf that's brown means that it's taken, or they have a bed, and any dwarf that's green doesn't have a bed yet. I renamed the dwarves that came here to be consistent with my theme of black actors and or characters and or people. So give it to Dr. J. This bed down here, I'm going to give this to Cousin Skeeter. And looks like I need to make another bed because I don't have one for Mr. T. So I'm going to use the same dumping mechanism I told you guys about, and I need to dump that stone because a dwarf will not put a bed there if there's a fucking stone in the way, because that's obnoxious. One thing I'm going to talk about now is Dwarf Tasks. I touched on it before when I was talking about immigrants, and I know you guys have seen me using this menu a lot. So I'm going to just go over what dwarves do when they don't have specific tasks. Every dwarf has healthcare, the two healthcare things enabled I touched upon earlier with feeding people and recovering the wounded. The other thing that all dwarves come with is hauling. This whole category is highlighted. That means if there's any stuff that needs to be moved around the fort or hauled around the fort, they will do it. Every dwarf comes like this. It doesn't have to stay like this, though. Dwarves are a little bit stupid. They prioritize things weird. So sometimes, even if you need to, I don't know, brew a drink because you're, dying of thirst, sometimes they'll choose to move around to stone. And sometimes this is a matter of life and death. If they're gonna fucking, die on the job from thirst because they're moving a stone, they should get their, drink on first. So I'm gonna show you guys how to disable that, or, what happens. Right now, one thing I would really like is if my dwarves would go and make these goddamn rock mugs. But my crafts dwarves are too busy dumping stuff. Or what are they even doing? Mr. T is the craft guy. He's drinking right now, which is good. But there's also stuff that I designated to be dumped. And dumping is like a high priority thing for dwarves. So usually a dwarf will do... if he's not doing a repeated task, he'll go and dump the item instead of doing what he's supposed to be doing. So, if I want Mr. T to really just focus on crafting, I will go to his labor menu and go down to hauling, and I will press Shift-Enter, which will disable the entire category. Now, you can also customize this. Say if I think your stone hauling is important, which it is, I will enable that. I will also enable item hauling, burial, food hauling, refuse hauling, and furniture hauling. What this means is, if you make a stone stockpile, he'll move the stone, which we don't have. But these ones are important. Item hauling is important. That means that if I need to move an item from a stockpile, like this silk cloth, he will move it. The rest of them are pretty, self-explanatory. Food hauling, they move the food to and from the stockpiles. Refuse hauling is really important. You should never disable this for anybody. They will take trash out of your fort and put it into the dump, which are all these purple skeletons. Like I said before, if you leave these purple skeletons in your base because you don't have a refuse pile outside, or you have no dwarves actually getting the refuse, it will create poisonous purple gas, which will just piss off everyone, and that can spiral out of control real quick if you don't get yourself in check. So, just be on top of those priorities. You don't have to change anything because they all come with hauling enabled, but in case you want, some stuff to get done more efficiently, you can disable some dwarves' hauling traits, and they'll do their real job instead. Another really critical aspect of your early fort environment, which you should get out of the way sooner rather than later, is the well. As you guys know, dwarves in this game drink and run off alcohol. They need alcohol to survive. On the opposite hand, or, adversely to conventional wisdom, dwarves do not need water unless they are hurt. So this will become more relevant when they have military orders and dwarves actually get hurt in combat, but for now, we're just going to build a well, because sick people need water instead of alcohol. They actually won't drink alcohol, they will only drink water. And clean water can only be acquired if you have a well. Now, a well is a pretty complicated structure to make in this game. You need a couple different things. You need a mechanism, you need rope, you need a bucket, you need blocks, you need all kinds of shit. Which is why we chose to embark with a rope. Rope is extremely important, but that's why we prepared for it. We brought a rope. Now, the other ingredients you need for a well, if I can remember what the well button is, which is L. So if you go to B and then L, it says well. It rhymes. It's a good way to remember it, guys. Hypnotic devices. Gotta fucking exploit that stuff. We need blocks, we need a free bucket, and we need a mechanism. And it would say that we need a rope, but we have a rope, so it's not there, because it's highlighted in red, and that means we don't have it. So, this stuff is all really easy to make, though. It's a little bit complicated, because you don't know what you're doing, but that's why I'm here. So, let's look at blocks. How do you get blocks? You go to a mason. So press Q over the mason's workshop, press A to initiate building something, and then press B for blocks. You only need one block, so that's great. What else do we need? We need a bucket. That's really easy to do because we have a carpenter who makes shit out of wood. So go to the carpenter, press Q, press A to add a new task, and go down to bucket, which is U, I believe. Nope. It is actually something else. And that something else is E. So press E to build a bucket. Next thing we need is a mechanism. Now this is going to take a little bit of work. So a mechanism is made at a mechanics workshop, and only a mechanic can use the mechanics workshop. So we're going to combine previously learned principles and combine them all for this one mechanism. It'll be great. So the first thing we need to do is we need to assign someone the mechanic labor. I'm thinking that Mr. T, the craft guy, is the most appropriate for this because he's already working with shit, so we might as well make him work with some stuff, some metal, or not metal, but some mechanics. So that is, if you want mechanics, that is in the engineering tab. So you go to labor and go to engineering, and there it is, mechanics. Press enter, and he will start making mechanics stuff in a mechanics workshop. The next step is, of course, to build a mechanics workshop. So, like before, B for building menus, W for workshops, and you have to find the mechanics workshop, which is right there at the bottom with T. So press T, and just stick this guy somewhere down here. Now it's important that you enable the labor first, because only the guy with the mechanics labor will make the mechanics shop. So it doesn't help you if you have the mechanics shop set up and ready to go to be built if you don't have a mechanic to actually build it. So make sure you enable the labor first. I also have to make sure he's not doing anything else, which I'm pretty sure he is. Dr. J, there he is, I found him. He's storing an item in a bin. This goes back to what I said before. Even though he has a primary job I want him to do, he's going to prioritize other things first, like moving a cup to the bin over here. So I will highlight him, I will go to his labors, and I'm going to disable all the hauling stuff, because I want him to get this done now. So, ideally... what is he doing? Don't be a dick. Right now it says he has no job, but he does have a job. He has to build the thing. Oh my god. Alright, we'll give him some time. Sometimes dwarves just need to chill out. Oh, wait a second. Oh, this is Dr. J. Oh, I'm all screwed up. Mr. T. Oh, he's making rock crafts. Repeatedly. Well, this is a problem. So, the guy I assigned to be the mechanic is also the crafter, and he's busy making crafts on repeat, so he will not stop his job to make this unless I cancel this job. So, I will take it off repeat, so we'll finish this last craft, and then ideally he'll go down here and build this. So here he is right here. I'm tracking him with V. I'm going to wait till he's out of the workshop. And hopefully he'll run down there and do it. Alright, so we just ran away. And where is he going? He's storing an item in a barrel. Now he's running around. Oh, and he just grabbed a rock, and he went over here, and if you press Q, it says it should say it's in construction. So construction is initiated, which means he's building it. So he's going to fuck around for a little longer, and it is done. Oh, no, it's not, my lad. See how it's changing? It means he's building it. There we go, now it's done. Now we have a mechanics workshop, and what can we do with that? We can build a mechanism to build a well. So under here, just like any other shop, just pretty standard procedure, press A, and there's only two things you can make here, a mechanism and a traction bench. A traction bench is a hospital item to keep injured dwarves still, but we'll get into that when we actually need one. But for now, just press T once and make one rock mechanism. And you should run right back down here and make one. I hope. Or else it'll look real stupid. Right, so he's on his way, he grabbed a stone, now he's sitting in here, and he's making it. And he's going to sit in here just for a little longer, hopefully not too much longer, and he's done. Now if you want to see what's inside of a building, press T, and if you press T you can see that there's a chalk mechanism inside this building. Great. And it's well crafted too, which is, pretty lucky. It means the well will work easier. Now if we press B and L to build a well, it still says we need mechanisms, but that's because the mechanism isn't stored in a stockpile yet. And as you can see, the doctor is moving it. And now if you press K to highlight anything in the world, using this cursor, you can see that the chalk mechanisms are in the furniture stockpile. That's where they are stored. So now, finally, if you press B and then L, you'll see that we can build a well. because we have all the stuff you needed, or that we need. Now, a well needs to be built over water, of course, because you can't fucking take water out of the ground. Water in this game is kind of a confusing concept at first. So on this ground level right here, as you can see, there's blue, which is water, but the game reads this as open space. And that's because if you go down one level, this is where the water is. It's actually a pool. It's a murky pool, and the water is 7 out of 7, which is the deepest it can get. If a dwarf happens to fall in 7 out of 7 water, there's a good chance he's going to die of drowning. So make sure your dwarves are kind of, not fucking around near water. So you want to build the well on the level above the actual water level. So this one right here, where it says open space. So why don't we just stick the well, and you'll see the places you can't build it obviously are highlighted in red, and places you can are highlighted in green. So why don't we have it go right here? See how it's green right here? Press enter, and it'll ask you to go through to check all the stuff you want to use to make it, just in case you have varying qualities of items that you want to contribute to the well. Like, say if we had 2 mechanisms, one mechanism could be of lesser quality, the other could be of higher quality. If you want the well to work more efficiently, you could use the higher quality ingredients. But for now, we only have 1 of each, so we're just going to press enter for the blocks, enter for the mechanisms, and enter for the rope, which I skipped because I pressed it really fast. And the well, if you press Q, it says construction inactive, waiting for an architect. It needs architecture. And this ties back into the labor thing I talked about. And I'm pretty sure I already made someone a architect, so I'm going to wait because I enabled their architect labor. And I'm going to wait for him to come up here. And when he does, I'll let you know. And that took about 2 seconds. As you can see, Wesley Snipes is the if you get on to his other jobs, he has architecture enabled, so he's going to build the well. And if you go to his inventory, you'll see that he's hauling a chalk mechanism. So he's pretty much going to haul all the items you need, all the mechanics to make the well. He's going to dump them over at the well spot. So he's just going to spend the next minute running back and forth from the fort. He's got the rope. He's bringing the rope over here. Now he's probably going to go get the blocks. There he goes. He's getting the bucket. He's dragging the bucket up. And that little downward blue arrow means that he's thirsty, and you can identify their needs, like their food and thirst needs, by going to their W for wound, and it'll say thirsty. So he's probably going to grab a drink. Oh, fuck it. I guess he's just going to keep building the well. Now he has all the parts here. He's going to just sit here for a while, and he's going to start making the well. So he designed it. Now it needs a mason to actually build it. So the mason's going to come up now. This is terribly inefficient, but gotta wait for a mason to get his ass up here. There we go. So there comes the mason. He's checking it out. He's saying this well is, the well is well designed. It's safe to drink from, and he established it. Now we have a well. Do not make it a meeting hall, because then all your, idle dwarves and animals will gather outside, and you definitely don't want that. So now that we have this well, if a dwarf is sick, and he's bedridden, other dwarves will, they'll get water from the well and give it to him, and he'll get better. So that's really important. And later on, we're going to make this well more secure, but right now we don't really have the manpower for that, so we're going to leave it be for now. And the stray water buffalo bull was struck down, and that's because I butchered him to death. As you can see, if you press T and highlight the shop, you'll see that the shop has CLT next to it in purple. That means it's cluttered, and that's because I just killed a fucking water buffalo in there, and all his shit is all over the place. Dwarves will clean this up using refuse piling. Oh my, I got 21 meat. This is pretty good. Killing water buffaloes, which is one of the random animals I got on this map with my starting setup, they drop a lot of stuff. They have a lot of food, they have a lot of bones, and it's just, everyone wins when you kill a water buffalo, except for the buffalo. So I think this is a pretty good place to stop. We covered tasks, jobs, we got the well built. That was really important. And pretty much we're still just going to keep chilling, waiting for more immigrants to come. Autumn has come. This is going to be important. This is a great place to stop. Autumn is when the dwarven traders come, and hopefully in the next video I'll be able to show you guys how trading works. So until then, keep making your cups, keep growing your grow, keep growing your grow. And just keep making sure that people don't die. Make sure they have food, make sure they have drinks. And yeah, so take care, guys.